Okay, guys, quick bit of convention etiquette that we need to discuss. Thankfully, whenever I've been to conventions, mostly the Insomnia Fest, which was fantastic, and I'm going to share loads of pictures on Twitter with, if you want to chat to me or say hi, just walk up and say hi, but do me a favor. Do me like a big, big, big favor, okay? Introduce yourself and be willing to talk. Also, it really helps if we haven't met before, if you just let me know that. Because I'm going to let you in on a secret. A lot of people walk up to me at these conventions, and what they do is they walk up and they stand there and they stare at me. And I don't have face blindness so much, but I see a lot of people in specific contexts, as in, you know, these are my cosplay friends, these are my Warhammer friends, these are Magic the Gathering friends, and what happens is, when you see someone from a certain friend group outside of the context of that group, you sometimes don't recognize them immediately. So I get people walk up to me, people who I've known for years, walk up and go, hey Josh, and I'm like, oh, hey man, good to meet you. And they're like, we've been friends for 5 years. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, sorry, I didn't expect to see you here, I expected to see you there. So my brain didn't do that thing. If you want to meet me at a convention and say hi, please do. Just try and make it as smooth as possible for both me and you. That'd be super easy. Because what also happens is people walk up and they just stare at me. Or they walk up and just hold their hand out to shake their hand. Then I'll always shake your hand. That's not a problem at all. But I will look at you and my brain will internally be screaming, do I know you? Have I met you before? Where do I know you from? That kind of stuff. So yeah, please come and do a hey Josh and wave and walk away. You can absolutely do a hey Josh and wave and walk away, and then my brain will be thinking, have I never met that person? Have they just said hey? Have they, you know, noticed me and walked off? Are they my best friend of 10 years? I don't know. I do not know. I spent literally all night at the convention hanging out with some super cool people. The next day, those people were in cosplay. They came up to me. I had no idea who they were, because they were in good cosplay, and they looked nothing like they looked yesterday. And after about 20 minutes of conversation, they were like, Josh, do you not recognize us? I'm like, no. You're in costume. Your whole hobby is about looking like somebody else. You're good at it. I don't know who you are. And then they had to explain who they were. Yeah, please, just introduce yourself. We were furries. Some of them were. Some of them very much were. For example, I'll tell you what was interesting. I met a couple of really cool people in Insomnia. I'm going to go off on a slight tangent right now. The first person I met, and I've met this guy before a couple of times, was Neil Newbon. Neil Newbon does the voice of Heisenberg in Resident Evil The Village. Phenomenally talented voice actor. Super tall dude. Like, ridiculously tall, stupid good looking. And I walked up to him and I'm like, hey Neil, we met briefly at this convention before. And he was like, oh yeah, Josh, I remember you. He was super cool with that. He actually came to the, he came to watch us do the Insomnia, the Session Zero show on stage. It was really cool. But then what I thought was really interesting, I felt a little bit cocky. You know, I was walking around Insomnia, and our stage show, Session Zero D&D stage show, was on the next day. And I saw someone famous and successful, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to be a little bit cocky. I'm going to walk over, introduce myself, and say, hey, it'd be super cool if you were in the audience. That man was a voice actor called Doug Cockle, and Doug Cockle does the voice of Geralt in The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Phenomenally talented man. So I waited until his kind of line died down, because that guy was signing stuff all day. He was shaking hands all day. I walked over and I went, Mr. Cockle, can I have a moment of your time? And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. I'm like, I'm Josh. I run the Session Zero stage show. It's on at, you know, blah, blah, blah tomorrow. Be super cool to have you in the audience. I know you've got a busy day, but it'd be really nice to see you because I've admired your work for a long time. It'd be a privilege for me to perform to you. And he goes, you know what? I'll try as hard as I can. And the next day happened. He was super busy signing stuff. And we performed the show. I could see Neil in the audience. Neil managed to take an hour out of his day to come and watch the actual show, and he was lovely about it. I couldn't quite see Doug in the show. He was super busy. On the last day of the convention, I was in a hotel. So I came down for breakfast in the hotel, grabbed like a complimentary style buffet breakfast, grabbed a couple of plates, and I sat down. And as I was eating breakfast, I heard this voice next to me go, Josh. And I looked over, and it was Doug. And I went, oh, good morning, Doug. I didn't realize we're in the same hotel. And he went, yeah, I caught the last half an hour of your show. Really good. Really enjoyed it. And I'm like, oh, thank you very much. So we had a bit of a conversation, and yeah, just turns out he's a really chill, nice, down-to-earth guy. So if you're ever at a convention and you either see Neil Newbon or Doug Cockle, they're obviously going to be super busy signing stuff, but if you can grab just 10 seconds to say hi and shake their hand, they will. They're lovely people. Whenever I go to these conventions, I always meet, big streamers and big YouTubers that I've looked up to for a long time, voice actors, very successful. You think that they're really intimidating people, but here's something I've found. And again, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong on this or if you've had different experiences. We are going to cut him free. This is going to happen. There is this kind of general preconceived notion that super successful people in any kind of industry are a bit arrogant and a little bit cocky and a little bit difficult to work with and a bit full of themselves. And there is the undeniable truth that being an arrogant arsehole will get you to a certain level of success. Yeah, that will happen. You'll be able to push past people, you'll be able to barge in the queue, you'll be able to demand that you get given the roles and the money and the things like that. There's an undeniable correlation between being a bit of an arsehole and being quite successful. But there is a ceiling. There is almost like a cap of how far that will get you. And if you want to go beyond that, it's very, very simple. Going beyond that requires other people wanting to work with you. Other people who are successful looking at you and saying, I like them, get them. Or I've worked with them before, they are a professional, they will deliver, get them in, that kind of stuff. And it's those kind and, people who are generally quite humble, people who are very talented, but people who work hard because they know that the talent isn't enough. That's the thing. Whenever you see people who are super successful, and I'm talking not like inherited wealth, billionaire levels of success, because that's just an entire other kettle of fish. There's no way you can make that much money ever. But the people who have worked really hard and succeeded in the industry or the area they are in, it's very much a case of you've got to be talented, you've got to work hard, you've got to be professional, but then you've also got to be enjoyable to work with. Because people say, hey, get them in. Let's work with them. I've worked with them before. They're fun. Let's invite them over, that kind of stuff. So if you're ever thinking, oh, God, I've met this successful person. They're such an arsehole. Just understand that they will reach a cap and people won't want to work with them again. I've met a couple of people who were a bit arrogant, a little bit annoying, a little bit full of themselves, and they've succeeded. Excellent. But then I've met them again a few years later, and again a few years later, and they're at the same level of success because everyone above them just doesn't want to work with them. So they're happy coasting where they are. That's all they want. But they're not going to go beyond that. So being kindness. Kindness will get you a hell of a long way. Such a random dick, watches content, interacted, supplies by the way he acted. You've very much got to, when you meet people who are like, I like being around you. You're fun to be around, you're humble, you lift people up. Let me ask you a question, guys, and this is a super big one. And I try really, really, really hard to make sure this happens all the time. Have you ever been in a group of people and there's been someone or a couple of people within that group and you can tell that they're not the most confident people, but the way that they big themselves up is by putting other people down? Have you ever noticed that? You'll tell a story and someone else will take the piss out of you. And people will laugh at you because they're taking the piss, and that kind of elevates their social status. Or they'll try and big themselves up by pushing others down. They try and climb over other people. And there are a subset of people who this will appeal to. Without a doubt, someone's like, the barbarian is dead. Okay, don't worry. He's fine. He's been there for a while. He's okay. He's not going to die. Have you ever been in a group of people and there's been someone in that group who bigs up everyone else, who talks about how great other people in the group are, how talented they are, what they have done, who, like, whenever you've said about something that you've done that you're proud of, instead of the person being like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna shit on your story to make myself feel great, you're gonna have someone come along and go, actually, this guy is being humble. He's way better than he's talking to me. He's done this, and this. They are the people you want in your group. They are, without a doubt, the people that you want to surround yourself with, the people that lift you up, people that big you up, people that make you feel fantastic. Yeah. Just hold up for a second. Yeah, hang on, barbarian. We'll be okay. You want to big those people up. Surround yourself with those kind of people. You end up with a team of people who support you, absolutely no doubt.